Sometimes retirement just doesn't work out the way we originally thought it was going to, and we find ourselves wanting to go back into the workforce. So it could be because of financial reasons, or it could be simply we're just bored. I've worked with clients on both ends of those spectrums that left the workforce early, did an early retirement, and then years later decided to go back into it. My name is Bill Benoist. I'm a certified professional career coach here in Silicon Valley. And what I want to talk about today is going back into the workforce after an extended leave of absence. And not only would this cover retirement, but also if you're a stay-at-home mom, or maybe you've been working, caring for an elderly parent for some time. There's many different reasons why you might have an extended leave of absence from the workforce and wanting to go back into it. But I think the steps are pretty much the same, and that's what I want to cover today. So the first thing that I really encourage you to do is to think about what it is that you want to do going back into the workforce. And that's actually probably for many people, I think that's the most difficult thing, is just coming up with what is it that they want to do. And I know the logical thing is maybe go back into what you were doing before, but for a lot of people, that's not the course that they want to take. I mean, I was in technology for 20 years. If I was to go back into the workforce, I know I wouldn't want to go back into technology. It's just not something that really interests me anymore. I would want to do something different. And for a lot of people, that's going to be the same. So one of the first things that I suggest, and I suggest with my clients, is that we have to look at the industry level, not the company level. You may not be aware of this, but there's over 55 million companies that are listed in LinkedIn. But of those 55 million companies, they all fall into only one of 148 industries. So what I recommend my clients to do is to take a look at the industries, and from the industries there, identify companies that are within those industries. Now, I have a list of the industries in the notes section below, and I also have a video that I'm going to put in the upper right hand corner that I did a few weeks back on how to find recruiters in specific industries. This will also identify the companies that are in these specific industries. So what you want to do, look at the industry, see what really resonates with you at this higher level. And it's like, green energy, that resonates with me. Healthcare, that resonates with me. Maybe it's a nonprofit. Whatever it is that's really resonating with you, we start at the industry level and then we kind of funnel down, and that's where we'll start looking at the companies. And again, take a look at my video on how to find recruiters in those companies. That's the first thing. Identify what it is that you want to do. Second thing that you want to do is you need to really start looking at these companies and the positions that you're interested in, and taking a look at what are the skills that you may be missing. Even if you were to return to the original industry, you need to update your skills. And one of the things that I would recommend is essentially just, okay, so let's say you now know the kind of position in the industry that you're looking for. Do a search out there on one of the job boards, a very wide search. Say, for example, if you live in the Bay Area of California, not just looking in the Bay Area of California, but looking in the entire state of California, or even just, really across the U.S. But search out the positions in those industries, and then find 5 or 6 of those that really resonate with you, and take a hard look at the job descriptions. What are the skills that you may be lacking or weak in? And that's one of the things that I would really recommend. Now, I'm going back to individuals that are the retirement age, and that is, one of there was a study that was done a few years ago where they asked hiring managers and HR professionals, what is it that is your number one perception of the older worker? And there was 5 that really rose to the top. The older worker would not have the drive or energy to do the job. The older worker would not be willing to take instructions or be managed by a younger manager, that the older worker would not be open to change, that the older worker would not be open to going to training and learning new things, and the older worker would be more prone to illnesses. And then they asked these managers and HR professionals, take a look in your own backyard, self, your company, and validate this. And they could only validate one of those, just one of them. And that was the older worker was not open to learning new things, to going to training. So one of the things that I really recommend for individuals that are re-entering the workforce after being retired is to brush up on their training and to show that on their resume. So there's a number of different avenues of brushing up on your training. There's LinkedIn Learning, there's Coursera, there's Udemy, there's Skillshare. But get this training done, get the certificates, and put them on your resume. And now let's talk about the resume for just a moment, and also LinkedIn. You need to make sure that you get these in order. If you've been out of the workforce for over 5 years, I can tell you one thing that has changed is that more and more companies are using applicant tracking systems. They're using computer-based software that's matching your resume to keywords. So in other words, it's not a human being that's looking at the resume, it's actually a computer there. So you want to make sure that your resume is up to date and that it's applicant tracking system friendly. And I have a training on my website. It goes over the resume and it goes over LinkedIn. It even goes over interviewing. It's about an hour and a half long. I mean, this is a very intense training, but it will cover applicant tracking systems. And again, this is good even if you're not going back because of retirement, but you're going into it because of being a stay-at-home mom or taking care of an elderly parent, or whatever the reason. You've been out of the workforce for some time. So, to review, make sure that you really kind of have a focus as to what it is that you want to do, to taking a look at this skill set and what you may need to brush up on. 3, getting your resume in order. 4, getting your LinkedIn in order. Next thing that you need to do is you want to start putting together an elevator pitch. I call them lean-in statements. It's just something, you need to prepare for networking out there, because that's the next step. We'll go into that in just a second, but you need to get your elevator pitch or lean-in statement in order. What's the difference between the two? An elevator pitch is what they say is usually anywhere 60 seconds or so. It's when you go into the elevator and then the CEO asks you, so what is it that you do? And you start talking and you got 60 seconds or until that elevator door is open. But I feel by that time that CEO or whoever it is that's asking that question is probably climbing the walls, regretting that they ever asked you that question. And to me, some of those responses are just hokey. But a lean-in statement, in other words, is just a 1 or 2 sentences of telling that individual what it is they do. And you want to get them to have a little lean-in, like they're interested. So for example, if somebody was to ask me and says, so what is it that you do, Bill? Well, John, I'm a certified professional career coach. I like to say I help people find jobs that fuel their passion rather than zapping it. Are you leaning in a little bit? So you got to get your elevator pitch or your lean-in statement in order. And that is something I also have a video on, and I'll link that one in the upper right-hand corner as well. But that leads me to the next thing, and that is you need to maximize your network. And this is something that a lot of C-level executives have failed to do over the years, is really maximize their network. And they're ashamed to go to their network. They're ashamed to actually leverage it. And there's nothing wrong with leveraging your network. So, many different ways to do that. I mean, of course, you've got LinkedIn out there, but think of other things, because networking is not about collecting people. It's about connecting with people. And that could be, it could be meetup groups or as friends, relatives, neighbors. You want to let them know that you're out there looking and keep their eyes open. And there's many different ways to do that. And that's a whole video of itself, but you have to start leveraging your network. And then finally, what I would recommend to individuals that if they're just not certain what it is that they want to do, consider contract work. Contract work can go anywhere from at the very lowest levels all the way up to C-level executives. And I knew this one woman that I think she was working for 2 or 3 organizations at one time as a contract CFO. So there's, organizations out there that you can do this, but there's organizations all the way down to the office level. If you're a little uncertain, contract work may be the way to go. So to wrap this up, just reiterate, it doesn't really matter what the reason is for being out of the workforce for some time. I mean, I started this based upon being retired and wanting to go back into the workforce after a number of years, but it could be for a multiple of reasons. It's just that these are the steps that you want to follow if you're considering this. I hope you found this video informative and useful. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, as I do upload new career tips and strategies every Tuesday, and I'd hate for you to miss anything. Thanks for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.